Hi, and it's time for story time. Now, I owe you 2 chapters today because yesterday I had a really bad headache and I didn't get time to read before I had a little bit of a rest. So, 2 chapters it is. And this part of the chapter is called Morning. And it says, I spoil someone's weight loss diet and I'm accused of murder. That night, I dreamt that I was trapped inside a giant donut. I was trying to eat my way out, but then Jane and Gamble started gobbling it. And then I screamed at them to stop. My lungs filled with jam and I couldn't escape because my hands and feet were stuck. And then I jolted awake. Sweating, my bed covers tangled round my arms and legs. I touched my face. It was warm and sensitive, but it no longer hurt. I was absolutely starving. Speaking of which, it was 6:30 in the morning. No one else in the house would be up, but it would be rude not to satisfy my rumbling tummy with a teeny-weeny pre-breakfast donut, wouldn't it? I crept down to the kitchen and pulled the stool over to the top cupboard where Mum keeps the emergency donut. The box is always hidden behind the tea bags because Mum thinks I won't look there. I reach past them, expecting my fingers to bump against it any minute. But hang on a minute, it wasn't there. Looking for this by any chance? Said Mum from the doorway. I turned slowly around. Mum was wearing her nightie and her dressing gown. She was holding a pink, shiny gift bag with tinsels and bows dangling off it. What's that? I asked, climbing down off the stool. It's the donut, said Mum. The emergency donut, you mean? Why, it's wrapped up like a Christmas present. And how come you're up so early? Mum clapped her hands excitedly. Well, I woke up suddenly an hour ago and the idea was right there in my brain. Wouldn't it be cute if Roman gave a present to his girlfriend? Oh, I said. I was horrified. Jane would probably eat my donut whole. At that moment, Dad came bundling downstairs into the kitchen, his suit half on and toothpaste all round his mouth. You're awake. Brilliant news about the girlfriend, he said, slapping me on the shoulder. Now, quick tip, never do what she says or always do as she says. Dad isn't good at advice. Mum shook her head. Fasten your trousers, Frank. You can't go to work with your trousers undone, can you? That's a really bad idea. She handed me the gift bag. Right, Roman, make sure you give it to Jane outside school so I can get a photo. Oh, definitely not, I said. Nonsense, said Dad. First girlfriend, this is a big moment. Oh, gutted I'm going to miss it. Hey, Barbara, maybe you could get a video of her eating the donut. Oh, that's a good idea, said Mum. I shuddered. You really don't want that, I said. Maybe I could just save all this fuss and eat it myself. Oh, it's no fuss, said Mum. It's sweet that you have a girlfriend. I think she only came round yesterday for a donut, I said. Nonsense, said Mum. She wanted to see you. Only because she felt bad for ignoring me after she got me covered in wee, I said. Wee? Said Mum. Dad whistled. Oh, things have changed since I was a lad. You're meant to shower her with gifts, Roman, said Mum, not with, and Mum's voice just sort of drifted away. Wasn't my fault, I said. Someone was throwing wee at me and I kind of ducked. Very wise, said Dad. A gentleman always puts himself first. Mum rolled her eyes. No, Frank, a gentleman puts his lady first. It's obvious you owe Jane one, Roman. You have to give her this. And so, a couple of hours later, I wound up shuffling through the school gates with my hair all greased down, wearing a tie and carrying the most embarrassing gift bag of all time. I turned around and Mum grinned at me from the other side of the fence, camera at the ready. At least I'd persuaded her not to follow me into the playground. And the next part of the chapter is called An Incredibly Hairy White Pencil Case. I didn't actually get the chance to give Jane her present straight away. She was standing with her friends and they all huddled together and started giggling when I came through the gate. Mum gestured at me to move over towards Jane. I stood behind a tree, pretending not to know that she was there. Thankfully, the bell soon rang and we all trooped inside. As I was hanging up my coat in the corridor, I tried to slip the gift bag with the doughnut into my rucksack. I was hoping Jane wouldn't have noticed it. I should be so lucky. "You look smart, Roman," she said, practically yanking the gift bag out of my hands. "A present? For me? Is that what I think it is? Oh, thank you." "Well, I thought we could share it," I offered. It's worth a try. Jane screwed up her face. I'm not sure. I think it might be bad luck to share a present with the person that just gave it to you." "Oh," I said, "I've never heard that." "Oh, trust me, it is," she said quickly. You could sit with me, though, at playtime while I eat it. It'll be so romantic." Yeah, I thought, romantic, like watching feeding time at the zoo. At that moment, Rosie Taylor suddenly appeared. "Everybody, status update. Roman's brought Jane a present." Everyone just went, "Ooh." I felt myself blushing bright red. "Present?" said Gamble, elbowing his way through that. What present?" Oh, great. Jane licked her lips. "Well, if I know my Romy, it'll be a big blob of raspberry jam, all wrapped up in yummy, scrummy, squidgy, sprudgy dough." "Where's mine?" said Gamble. His baked bean head was twitching angrily. "Still got a baked bean head then?" You're not his girlfriend," said Jane. "It says, 'Shut your mouth, toilet face,'" replied Gamble, grabbing it off of her. "He promised me one yesterday." "Do something, Roman," cried Jane. "You're meant to be my boyfriend." I probably should do something, I thought. Then again, this was Darren Gamble we were talking about. On his first day in school, he told us all he'd once been arrested for headbutting a police car. I decided not to intervene. Jane huffed out her cheeks. She reached forward for the gift bag, but Gamble ducked out of her way, pulled out the unwrapped doughnut and rubbed it under his armpits, and then he offered it back to her. "Do you still want it?" "Well, I don't think I'd want that doughnut, do you? A smelly armpit doughnut. I don't think they'll sell that in the shops." Before she could answer, Mrs. McDonald stomped into the cloakroom. "What is the meaning of this?" she snarled. Gamble innocently hung the gift bag on his peg. "Nothing, miss." Rosie Taylor stepped forward. "Oh, it was all Roman's fault." Typical. "As if I wasn't having a bad enough morning already," Mrs. McDonald tutted. "I'm not interested in your silly squabbles." But, said Jane. Mrs. McDonald raised a chubby little hand. "I've had enough. I don't want to listen to your problems. I have enough of my own, thank you. All of you, into class now." Jane looked like she was about to cry. On his way past, Gamble shoved his face right in front of mine. I don't want to be horrible, but his breath smelt like, well, imagine if an old lump of cheese learnt how to fart, and you might be halfway there. Oh, farting cheese. I don't think they sell that in my shop. I thought he was going to punch me or threaten me. Instead, he did something worse. Darren Gamble shook my hand. "Thanks for the doughnut, mate," he said. Mate? Wonderful. Thanks to the deadly doughnut, I was now mates with the craziest kid in our school. Inside our classroom, Mrs. McDonald took the register in a flat, irritant voice. Jane was sobbing in her chair, but Gamble wasn't bothered at all. He was bouncing up and down, waving his hands about next to me. Miss Clegg was filing her nails. "Oh, what is it, Darren?" said Mrs. McDonald, not looking up from her computer. "Miss, you said you were having a bad morning." "Why, miss? Were you drunk last night, miss?" Few people tittered. Mrs. McDonald pursed her lips. "If you must know, this is the reason why." She reached behind her desk and pulled out an enormous cage. So big it practically filled the whole of the front table. There was an enormous "wow!" and everyone surged around it. "Is it a rat?" said Gamble, pressing his face right against the bars. "Do you want me to shoot it, miss?" "I can get my air rifle. Roman will hold it still for me." "Certainly not," said Mrs. McDonald. She opened a little door on the cage and pulled out what looked like an incredibly hairy white pencil case. "This is my prize-winning guinea pig, Mr. Wiggles." "Oh, yuck," said Rosie Taylor. "Rodents are disgusting." Mrs. McDonald brushed its long, fluffy fur with a tiny silver comb. "Actually, Mr. Wiggles is a valuable pedigree piggy-wiggy. There is nothing disgusting about him. He's probably cleaner than most of the people in this class." I wasn't the only person who glanced at Gamble when she said this. The hairy white pencil case thing tried to crawl up the sleeve of Mrs. McDonald's cardigan. She pulled it out. "Oh, it tickles. He's always trying to play hide and seek." "Why is he in school, miss? Is something wrong with him? Has he got worms like my dog?" Do you remember the dog had worms up his bum? Gamble's dog. Mrs. McDonald took a deep breath. The guinea pig tried to burrow under her sleeve again. "Certainly not. I had to bring him to school because, well, he gets lonely on his own, and I've sacked his babysitter." "A babysitter? For a guinea pig? Oh, good grief. Why did you sack her, miss?" asked Gamble. "Was she playing football with him and using him as the ball?" "No, of course not." "Did she nail him to the wall and throw darts at him?" "Definitely not." "Did she tie him to a firework and shoot him into space?" "Actually," said Mrs. McDonald, covering the guinea pig's ears, "I gave the babysitter a special diet sheet for Mr. Wiggles to stick to. Smoked salmon, grapes, cherry tomatoes, organic orange juice, you know, the normal kind of foods for a guinea pig." "Normal? Mr. Wiggles eats better than me." "Anyway," continued Mrs. McDonald, "she must have been feeding him unhealthy snacks instead. Look, this is what he used to look like." And she pointed at a framed picture of Mr. Wiggles on her desk. "And look at him now. He's obese." She held him up in the air to prove her point. A couple of people in the class gasped at the difference. In real life, he looked fairly similar to the picture, like a Cornish pasty wrapped in a wizard's beard. However, I have to say that since the picture had been taken, he did look like he'd been given a few blasts with a bicycle bump. I remember her phone call at the aquarium. Mrs. McDonald had been talking about someone putting on weight. I'd assumed she'd been talking about a person, a human, but she must have been talking about Mr. Wiggles. Mrs. McDonald rubbed her nose against the guinea pig's nose. "It's the British Guinea Pig Championship at the weekend. How can he defend his gold medal for the last year when he's so overweight?" The head teacher says I can keep him here to control his diet. It was that or I had to have the week off. Rosie Taylor put up her hand but didn't wait to be asked before speaking. Miss, you know that American singer, Indigo Termite? No, said Mrs. MacDonald. Well, said Rosie, it says she lost 8 stone in 2 weeks by eating only powdered eggshells and garlic. You should try that with your hamster. Guinea pig, huffed Mrs. MacDonald, and no, I will not. Those diets have terrible side effects. The British Guinea Pig Association would never allow a guinea pig with bad breath to win the title. Can I stroke him, miss? Gamble asked. Under absolutely no circumstances, said Mrs. MacDonald, placing the guinea pig carefully back in his cage and clipping the door shut. And that goes for everyone. Mr. Wiggles only comes out for his hairstylist. His hairstylist? Now, said Mrs. MacDonald, carefully placing the cage next to the sink. In our English lesson today, we are going to write about our trip to the aquarium. But, think about it, instead we are going to write a letter of complaint to an irresponsible guinea pig sitter. And that is the end of that chapter. And on Monday, we will be reading a chapter called Good Man. Have a lovely weekend and I will see you then.